Evening, everybody. It's a beautiful evening here, and it's always like this up here, so the locals have been telling me. What an evening for it. Perfect setting for a blockbuster contest with huge playoff connotations, a playoff for the playoffs in some senses, and worth mentioning as well, the Sharks' biggest crowd of the season here tonight. 4 changes to tell you about to Alex Sanderson's lineup this week. Their 2 Lions are ruled out. Tom Curry with a hamstring issue, Luke Dickey with a leg problem. So Tyke McElroy starting at hooker. Their academy hooker, Alfie Longstaff, could make his Premiership debut from the bench. Ben Curry is back in action, captaining the side, with Dan Dupree restored at number 8. The back division a little more settled. George Ford in command at 10. He's been in exemplary form. And the only change coming on the wing, Aaron Reid ruled out late with a calf strain, replaced by Tom O'Flaherty. Now the Bears are without Stephen Luatua tonight, helped off the field in Cardiff last weekend. His place in that back row goes to the Puma, Santi Grondona. The locks remain, but there are 2 new props this week, George Kloska and Jake Woolmore stepping up either side of Gabe Ogray. Pat Lam leaving his back line well alone. Randall and McGinty, the former Sale man, just a little more circumspect, those 2 in the Principality Stadium. But rest assured, the adventure, the swash and all the buckle still there in spades, with the likes of Ivitoye and Ravovo roaming on the wings, and of course that physicality in the midfield offered by Williams and Van Rensburg. So plenty to get your teeth into on the head-to-head fronts, Ben.
Yeah, in terms of the forwards, I think you can't really look anywhere else but the back row. 2 very evenly matched back row, but I'm going to go for the number 8. Bill Matt has been all over social media with some of his big hits over the last couple of weeks, and Dan Dupree not afraid of rearranging other people's rib cages as well, so who wins that battle might set the defensive.
15th for me, Ali Carpenter versus Lane, the 2 kind of unsung heroes of their team. Carpenter's been excellent this year, and you'd anticipate there could be English honours ahead of him for the summer. He's been really consistent. And then Lane, he's really taken advantage of Max Malin's injury. He's kind of the yin to the yang of his 2 wingers. He's just Mr. Reliable, solid, but he has lots of pace, lots of ability, and they're a vicious back 3 when they connect.
Yep, we know all about their attacking threat for sure. Sale, well, they've prided themselves on being able to suffocate the Bears in the past, of course, at Ashton Gate over Christmas. Very effective. But Bristol rediscovering some of their form last weekend, admittedly against a very much understrength Bath team in the Principality Stadium. But worries still persist. They were distinctly ordinary in that first quarter. They were twice reduced to 13 men as their discipline let them down. But they do have some momentum again, and they know that defeat here will leave them up something of a creek with, shall we say, diminishing number of paddles. Equally well, bonus point win, and they qualify for the playoffs, Ben. It's in their hands.
Yeah, absolutely it is. This is such a big game, but I think realistically, I know there'll be Newcastle fans, well, probably not watching this, they'll be watching their own team, but Newcastle for Leicester on the final weekend. You'd expect Leicester to get 5 at home against that team. So I think Bristol are the only team, if that happens, that can catch Leicester into second place and get a home semi. Sale want to make sure that they finish above them.
So a moment here for 2 proud Sale Sharks, who are more than likely playing for the final time here in the Salford Community Stadium. Johnny Hill heading off to pastures new next season. We believe in the top 14 with Racing. And Jean-Luc Dupree, whose destination is Bordeaux-Bègles. They've both been very significant figures, and they will leave some sizable holes. Jacques Vermeulen, of course, heading up to the northwest from the Exeter Chiefs to go about filling that void to some extent. But an emotional night for those 2. But Sale will need to be steely-eyed this evening. They feel they let Leicester off the hook last week. Inaccuracy, some poor handling, bit of ill discipline cost them. And their work is far from done as regards the playoffs. Defeat tonight, and it's probably over. They'd certainly hand Saracens and Gloucester a major leg up. But that said, their home form first class, 10 from 11 here. And just to reiterate, they did that incredible job of shutting Bristol out at Ashton Gate in December. So their goal again will remain similar this evening. George Ford, Gallagher Premiership's April Player of the Month, gets us underway tonight. Brilliant evening ahead. Penultimate round, real humdinger. Intensity, hunger, jeopardy, all on the line tonight. First touch for Jake Woolmore, occupying that loose-head jersey for Bristol. Ellis Genge on the bend this evening. The bench, I should say. Randall to the air. And a first little tester for Carpenter, who's been so good under the high ball, and he's chewed up a lot of metres, and he's freeing up his back division here. Marcy White, delay on the pass. Rob Dupree to O'Flaherty. Forward again, Van Rijn. Kloska coming in with a very important tackle first up. And Bristol backwards, making it hard work at the breakdown. Ford, a little stutter to the line, wide from Carpenter over the top. And Robart can't hold it.
His pass not quite up to it, but Carpenter's carry here. He's not necessarily looking to make the break himself, but watch how he takes out 4 white shirts, goes towards them, bounces off, gets round. That means he creates a 5-on-2 on the outside there. Really smart play from Carpenter with his first touch of the game.
Just one of those who'll be
hold back, AJ.
waiting with great interest to see whether he's picked for the England tour this summer.
Yeah, just having been down pitch side before the game, it's quite a breeze that Bristol are playing with in that first half, so you're going to have that back three of Sharks stay really deep, knowing that ball's going to travel that little bit further, respecting that.
Hold in front, Bristol.
Up she goes from AJ McGinty, knows this ground all too well, of course, from his time with the Sale Sharks. Carpenter on the counter-attack. O'Flaherty to halfway. Late inclusion this week, with Aaron Reid picking up a little calf strain in training on Tuesday. Ford, charged down by Grondona, and swept in by the Bears and by their captain, Fitzharding. Randall,
no 50-20.
threading it across field. Nice angle on it. Oh, it's beaten George Ford. Clever little kick.
Oh, it's a very, very tidy kick from Randall. Really good. It was a challenging one because it was on that right foot of his. He didn't favour the left foot, would have taken it away from the defender a bit. He managed to navigate it through the space. We heard referee Adam Leal, it wasn't a 50-22. He just travelled inside the opposition halfway line, but very, very good tactical kick early on. Just keep the pressure down in Sale Sharks area.
It's a great guy.
See George Ford, as soon as the ball's past him, he's running back into that corner. He doesn't really want to accelerate and try and play it. He wants to go to his standard set-up play, get the exit right,
Gus, take
rather
him
than
back. Use it.
snipe at the ball and risk getting caught in that corner and feeding Bristol.
Gus Waugh, the outstretched arms of Joe Batley, putting a lot of pressure on Batley, of course, who had such great success charging down kicks for fun against Bath in Cardiff. Good counter-ruck here from Bristol. They're really spoiling at the ruck, but this time coming off their feet. They're going beyond the ball. And Sailor off the hook for the time being. But good signs for Bears supporters that the intensity, the hunger's there, the physicality's there.
Well, by their own standards, will feel that they might have been a bit of a soft touch the last month, but they changed that in Cardiff last week with some huge hits. But we were just talking just before the game about George Ford, and it's all about creating space for those around you. Many 10 would have thrown that early, but he does his very best to commit Jancy van Rensburg. He does defend brilliantly well, but by taking that inside shoulder, he just creates a yard of space that he couldn't quite capitalise on, but really clever from George. Just what you expect from him, but it's the small things sometimes.
Here he's hovering in behind, ready to explode into the gap, with Roebuck coming off his wing, looking for the work. Van Rijn offering that abrasive edge. Good clear out from McElroy. Marcy White has really come into himself in the last few weeks. Here's Tyg McElroy, going to perform a very important role this evening in the absence of Luke Cowan-Dickey. Forward, crossfield. Just in front of Johnny Hill, and Randall did enough. Poku Fujor. Forward, again they're looking for that edge, and Flaherty does well to just stay alive and keep the ball in Sharks' hands. Ben Curry back in action properly. He's had a very untimely couple of weeks with injury and illness. Probably dropped him out of contention for the Lions, running a super competitive area, of course.
In front, Bristol, hold.
Pragmatism from Rich Lane. Oof.
No, this side,
just this side of the 22, but only just. Almighty distance on it.
Just this clear out from Jean-Luc Dupree. He's compromised. He's not in a good position now. Because they've got rid of the croc roll, you can't really do anything, but he just grabs the man and pulls him. But just those little bits of strength that he can bring to this team and the power. So he misses that. He's lost the breakdown, but just by twisting away and not holding on to the body, but holding the shirt and dragging the player away, he just gets away with it.
Josh Caulfield just redoing the strapping. Some decent options now at lock. It's been something of a problem area for Pat Lam through this season with injuries.
They've really missed badly.
Outside the 22.
He just adds so much from an attacking point of view for their style of play. He's almost the perfect lock for Bristol Bears' style of play. Always ranks so highly in terms of those assists and carries.
Excellent line from Jean-Luc Dupree. Forwards, Maasi White driving through contact, clung onto by McGinty. Forward again, O'Flaherty. Dealt with eventually by Ravovo, who had to hang on tight. Forward again to the line, Maasi White. McElroy does well. Great acceleration as well through the tackle beyond the 10-metre line. He's got Roebuck outside him.
Our sidelines.
Quick ball here. Bevan Rod rumbling forwards. Sale with meaningful quick ball here now. Carpenter.
Ravovo off the ball late there. Penalty. Free shot for Sale.
And Gus War is hammered in the tackle by Grondona, but back we come.
It's a brilliant break from Sale. It all comes from George Ford's confidence at the moment. He's prepared to hold and let defenders make decisions for him. He's not worried, he's not drifting back, he's standing high in the defensive line, right in their faces, and he's almost tempting them to shoot out of the line and give him an option for a longer pass. McElroy's break's fantastic, great bit of footwork. And then Ford.
Just trust me to get it, okay?
Grondona thinking, yeah, you're having a little bit too much impact on this game, George. I'm just going to remind you that every time you throw a late pass, you're going to get something through your ribcage.
Yeah, McElroy, his teammates didn't anticipate him making that line break, and Roebuck would be annoyed with himself not managing to get into a key support line earlier than he did. It could have been more than just a penalty.
So on that line now, Dicko, what do we have? Okay, what was the number, do you know? Cool, I'll have a look.
Opening points of the night go the way of George Ford, and Sale been such an influential figure throughout this week, with the target being set. Everybody knows the end game, and this bust from McElroy setting up the field position for those 3 points. As we mentioned, no Luke Cowan-Dickey through injury, not a long-term problem, we understand. And sad news this week that Tommy Taylor has been forced to retire from rugby as well. Dupree through the gain line again.
Take him back.
Poku Fujor. That England squad, by the way, due to be named on Tuesday, but it won't be featuring any
Don't collapse anyone now, please.
players from Bath or Northampton owing to the EPCR finals. There's Batley and the charge down. Ford alive to it, fortunately. And he spares Gus Waugh's blushes. This might be taken quickly. Ravovo says no.
Well, they're having a couple of charge downs, Bristol, aren't they? They're good, they're chasing hard. Waugh just takes a little bit of time. Batley, high hands, but really targets the boot, takes that extra step, gets his hands as close to the boot, so the trajectory, often with a charge down, people jump too high. They almost try and stop the ball in the air. You've got to get your hands as close to the boot as possible, so as the ball comes off it, it hits them.
It's actually very lucky that Ford was there. I'm not entirely sure whether he was the security policy that he thought he was going to need to be.
Caulfield with line-out possession. McGinty to Van Rensburg. Look at the strength in contact. Driving through George Ford. And the ball quickly recycled. McGinty again searching for space. That's come off the boot.
There's a knock-on by Bristol.
Of Jake Wilmore. There was a hand in there first of all. And Sale will take the scrum. Worth reiterating that day in December, which I think stuck in so many people's minds on account of the defensive display by the Sharks against the Bears. Bristol were playing without AJ McGinty that day, and there's little doubt he's a huge part of their operation.
Yeah, he just controls things extremely well. You know, when we were doing the head-to-heads, the obvious choice might have gone Ford and McGinty, because when their team goes well, it's more often than not that they've got a good platform, but they put their side in the right places, and sometimes that's through their running game, their passing game, but obviously both of them have very, very efficient kicking games as well, and know when defences play high, the space is in behind. When they play deep, they're happy to throw those long passes, commit defenders, and actually McGinty has a lovely running game as well, which he doesn't get a huge amount of credit for, but he links an awful lot, is more often than not the last man, linking up tries that go the distance, that go the length of the field, fit guy, so he's been very, very important to this Bristol Bears team, and they missed him in his absence.
Saw that stat come across the bottom of the screen there about the scrum, big part of Sale. 1 in 3 of their put-ins they win a penalty on, so Kloska doing his best here to anchor down, ensure that Bevan Rod can't get under his ribcage and attack him.
Bind! Set! Okay, that's stationary, use it.
Dupree from the base, barrelling through the challenge of Harry Randall. Waugh picking out Ford, and now there's a huge overlap out wide. Carpenter, Curry on the outside, Roebuck waiting for it. Now tracking back to the midfield, Roebuck waiting for the extra phase or two, but it's gone forwards this time.
Interesting to see Bristol's defensive setup. They are trying to get high in the line to stop Ford throwing the long passes, but quite often they're jamming the brakes on. Watch Ibatoye starts to go, they jam the brake on and they work as a unit back into the wide channel. It's just that decision-making of, can I follow through and stop, get high enough in the eye line to stop George Ford throwing that pass, or when do I go, right, we're going to have to, it's not on, let's back right off, give them easy meters on the outside, but get that line integrity so we're not broken.
Yeah, there's no foul play involved at the friendly far.
Good stuff, thank you.
Brian.
Just to your point, Benny, Ibatoye last week got caught a little bit in no man's land once or twice in the passing channel. But you've got to be very, very careful with George Ford. If you're playing that far in, that's 20 metres in, you leave 2 men out. George Ford does need a second invitation to be able to bring it to the line and still get that little cross-field kick in, a flat one, and they could be striking right onto it, and that leaves way too much work for Rich Lane in the backfield to try and cover 2 men out wide. So it worked on that occasion, but they have to be very, very careful not to overuse it.
Let's go, time boy. Yes, go.
A handful of particularly young props who will be eager to catch the eye of Steve Borthwick this evening. Bevan Rod, Asher Apoko for George Kloska in the mix as well, you'd think. Solidity from Bristol, Mata from the base, and McGinty looking to free up Lane. Great pace from Lane, gone beyond the halfway. O'Flaherty drops on him, but the ball's stolen, and Sale with the penalty. Ben Curry.
You didn't control your weight in the first place, then the ball was out, but the first defence was off.
Lane here, his footwork, the way he stands up, Rob Dupree here. Just goes, starts to go, and then the kick to the outside, accelerate between the two, but unfortunately, I think it's just a poor clear out, gone past the ball. Ball's clearly out, have to occupy that space above it. I guess you don't know what support's coming with you, but until you feel it.
I've huge sympathy for Rob Dupree there, because it's such a hard thing on the drift defence at 13 to play out, and as soon as you're stepped on the inside and you pitter-patter your feet, you lose all your momentum, and when the acceleration is with the attacker taking the arc, it's so hard to get that momentum generated back up again.
Gus Waugh, Ogre came shooting out of the line there early, looking to apply the pressure. Dupree gathers it in. Curry, the dummy runner,
in front, Ben. Thank you.
Forward to the skies. You can just see the impact of the wind actually on that ball as it went skywards. It held its position, possibly even drifted back a bit. Another penalty, though, against Bristol.
They're getting killed at the breakdown.
Number 12 holding on.
Last 3 penalties. You know when you play against Sale, there's always going to be a breakdown threat, albeit only one Curry on the field at the moment, but it's part of their DNA that they will make every single breakdown a real challenge. And with Bristol, how they want to play and want to open up this game, often, as we saw on the other wing with the last penalty, they can get a little bit isolated with numbers. Plenty of white shirts there, but really good from Rich Lane to win that battle. Didn't look like he had no chance, but just slow to get in and around the ball.
The line out has not been secured by Sale. Bristol have stolen it significantly, 7 metres out.
Great job by Ibitoye there, really important first man in the ruck, stayed strong because they were tracking backwards. Van Rijn was in a great position to be able to counter ruck. He wasn't allowed because of the strength of the winger.
He's bound, Johnny, thank you. Inside.
Johnny Hill looking to create the Batley effect with potential charge down. Touch is found, and just a reminder that there's a whole lot of rugby this weekend that you can't really afford to miss. TNT Sports and Discovery Plus for Northampton Saracens from 2:30 tomorrow, and Bath Leicester from the Rec from 5:15. Tigers win there will qualify them for the playoffs, and Sunday Quins Exeter 2:45, followed by the Rugby Review in its usual slot at 5:15. Hill with the gather, Curry with the transfer. Rob Dupree to Ford, and straight through the gap is Roebuck, and Ibitoye did well to slow him up, force him back in field. Waugh, Ford, Carpenter smashed in the tackle by Van Rensburg. Here's Dupree, he's being wrestled to the ground by Fitzharding. Ford again, probing that inside channel. Thunderous shot coming in from George Kloska. Once again, it's left to Jean-Luc Dupree to reset it all. Waugh to that short side. Harding trying so hard to dislodge the ball. He's managed it. Ravovo's away. And trouble potentially for the Sharks. Has that gone out on the full?
Bounced.
I think it's bounced out. So, in the end, a useful kick from Rich Lane.
Well, 15 minutes in, or over that. And this is the first time either side's been with possession in the red zone. Lovely little loop around play. But you just felt, Ali, they needed to continue towards the right-hand side, stretch Bristol, pull that defensive line across, because they just allowed that decision to straighten up and go towards the sticks. Just allowed Bristol's defence to recover and get numbers there, allow themselves a little bit of line speed.
He's been in electric form, Tom Roebuck. You just wonder what might have been if he'd pinned his ears back there and headed for the corner. McIlroy, it's been a great addition to this squad. Only his third Premiership start this evening. Here he is again, getting stuck in.
Okay, use it, Gus. Everyone step, thank you.
Batley waits, he's not far away again as War clears and sends up the box kick. Tap back, Opoku for Joe can't get a hold of it. McGinty feeds Ogre, who's going to try his luck at the kicking game.
That's one of those where the old style of our forward shouldn't be kicking it, just is fed there because the coaches will be going mad. Kicks it directly into his own teammates. Not quite the trajectory. That's one of those where the coach said, how often have you practiced that kick in training this week? What are you doing?
Yeah, just having a quick look at this Roebuck break. Criminal that it's in his right hand. He doesn't have that pass in him because he doesn't have the ball in two hands, and that's why he checks back inside. He's just got a link on the outside, a simple pass or maybe a more elaborate longer one, but he never gets it in two hands. He never even looks outside, but that's where the space is.
Lads, don't preempt the set call. They were both teams last time. Just wait for it. I won't hold you there forever.
It's been a really good battle in the scrum between Kloska and Rod on this side. Rod is attacking, but Kloska managing to stay supremely strong in a position, not really attacking back. This time he doesn't really get a good position in the hit. You see his shoulders very, very mobile and moving, trying to get themselves a penalty sale there. Referee not having it.
Unforthcoming. Ford goes wide. Roebuck links with Carpenter. Inside the 22, ball in hand. Ford again, waiting for the runners. Van Rijn arrives. Opoku for Jaw.
The wrong side of the breakdown. Number 7 is the wrong side of the breakdown, takes out number 6.
Ben Curry, who's ended up taking out Santi Grondona.
That's the first penalty against Sale. Breakdown penalty.
AJ, mark there, mate.
That'll just lift Bristol a little bit. Sale might feel a little bit hard done by. I think the last scrum, it's the first one Rod won. Definitely won it, whether he should have got a penalty. Just watch Kloska's body shape when he goes in. Rounded back. Every other one he's been completely straight. Now he's struggling to get his feet further back so that he can get into that good body shape. You can see his shoulders are going up and down, and that gives Rod the opportunity to attack, get under his sternum with his head, and you see his head pops out. I think that should have been a penalty.
I can't believe they didn't go left there. You got to go with the wheel. They went back open right, back into the teeth of the defence where the back row was able to plug on the inside.
Ball's been coughed up here by Bristol, and Van Rijn has it, playing with a knock-on advantage here. Sale, War quite measured that up, but Carpenter hits the gas and evades Rich Lane. Vovo comes in. Rob Dupree to Ben Curry to McElroy. The intensity of that Bears defence.
No fullback.
For all to see. Once again wide. Roebuck in space. He makes a good tackle.
I don't know whether any of the Bristol players have noticed that Rich Lane's down injured, so they have no one in behind at the moment. If George Ford or Rob Dupree spots it, there's an opportunity here for a little kick over the top. Only one sweeper in behind, and that's Ibatoya.
Here's a Opoku for Jaw, offloading nicely. War, Dupree, Ford's kick pass, taken by Carpenter. Going to need some support here. Did well to ship it on to O'Flaherty.
He was about to get dragged into touch. He wasn't having it. Great offload.
Rich Lane still down and stricken on this touchline. Ford, Dupree, Curry. Now then, 3-on-1. Heads into that space, frees it up for Dupree. Down Dupree in the corner for Sale. And all that pressure eventually yielding points.
What a try and what a finish. Albeit, as we said, Rich Lane down injured. There's some great bits in here. First of all, that Bristol defence. This is the huge carry. Boko for sure takes out 2 Bristol defenders with power, then 2 with strength. They get into that wide corner. Ibatoya, who's worked really hard to get all the way across the pitch, nearly drags Carpenter out. But here, AJ McGinty, again, that high line going, over-committing, but showing their hand, giving Rob Dupree the chance to just hold on to it. And then Ben Curry does so well here to take all the metres away from Jancy van Rensburg. So he has to stay, Janci van Rensburg, until the last possible minute. That means he then has to fly out to the touchline, and he's easy meat to wrong foot with the sidestep back inside.
An excellent conversion from George Ford. Sale move into double figures. First try of the game.
Just to your point, Benny, Randall plays super high, but it allows Dupree an extra second just to double pump the ball, wait for him to draw him out of the line, and that's actually what allows him to throw it over the top of the small scrum half. Really well linked, didn't panic, saw the rush coming on, invited it, and then reacted to it with a really sublime pass out wide to his back rower.
First start in 4 months for Dan Dupree, who's had a niggling calf injury that's been difficult to shake off. And by the way, we've seen the departure of Rich Lane for Bristol. Siva Naulango is on. That's it's looking like it might have prompted a move to fullback for Gabriel Ibitoye.
Yeah, it looked like Lane was nursing either his Achilles heel or his calf. He looked in a lot of pain.
So let's have a word with Dorian West, part of the coaching setup with the Sale Sharks. Dorian, it's taken a little while, but you've got your just rewards now.
Yeah, we've been a bit scrappy, haven't it? We've created a few opportunities, not quite finished anything off. So that was pretty pleasing to see there. We backed up a couple of decent phases of play.
You worked hard all week on nullifying Bears' threat and creating your own opportunities, as we just see this one land in front of Ravovo. Keeps it in field. No, he doesn't. Oof. Nervous moments, Dorian.
That was in my mouth then. I wasn't quite concentrating.
Makes a change for food, Nobby.
It's quite tempting, the size of this microphone.
What are you seeing that you're happy about, that you've been working on in the week, that's coming to fruition, and what's not happening that you'd like to see?
Well, we were a bit frustrated last week on our scrum. We couldn't quite get it into the game. We kept getting penalised, so we've worked hard on our discipline this week, painted some better pictures for the ref, so I've been pretty pleased with that. I thought we were unlucky not to get a penalty when the scrum stood up. We were going forward, but I've been pleased with that. Line out in general has been pretty good, and I think we've reacted pretty well to them because they've kicked the ball a lot more than we'd seen them in our previews. Yeah,
no question about it. It seems to be a continuation of what was going on at the Principality, doesn't it? What about scrum time? You like to think that Bevan Rod might be just beginning to get an edge there?
Yeah, well, we said we've got to be patient with the scrum. We sometimes get a bit guilty of going hard too soon. So I think we've painted some good pictures, and hopefully we can build on that.
Thanks so much for your time, Dorian. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Leave that microphone alone.
Crucial for this. Now Bristol, they need some time with ball in hand, particularly in the red zone. Great shot there on Janci van Rensburg.
And here's Randall, skating through, and he's clear. That's just brilliant from Harry Randall. Just what Bristol needed.
Well, that's a brilliant finish. Eyes come up. Just has a little explore. There's the shot. Ball was a bit high for Janci van Rensburg, but he was aware of the two props coming into position in those guard positions on the blind side. Very, very quick to lift and run, despite the quality of the hit on Janci van Rensburg. No real pressure at the breakdown from Sale, and that allowed him to exploit the slower members of the Sale team getting into position, and Alex Sanderson can't believe it. They've been so good, 70% possession for Sale, and then one switch off, and there's no one much sharper in the league at those sort of darts as Harry Randall.
Just a momentary lapse, and the Bears have pounced.
Yeah, they haven't done a huge amount wrong, but just look at the separation between the two props. That's too big on guard and first defender, and then Harry Randall used his short runner as a foil to stop a poker for sure, throws the dummy, and then he just has too many wheels to arc around and finish the try magnificently well. Really well taken scrum half try without the Sale defence doing a whole lot wrong, in truth.
He was excellent last week as well, Harry Randall, always the man to increase the tempo, keep things ticking along, but he's given Bristol a foothold here.
Oh, that's brilliant. From Dupree over the ball. The Sale defence, obviously a little bit upset with the try that they've just given away. That was relentless. Everyone going up as a line. One man flies out of the line. But because they do it as a unit, as the pass is made, the ball, as it's caught by the next player, just watch. Look at the line speed here. They keep going forward. One hits, second one hits, straight in over the ball. You can see how far away the Bristol players are. Because it's a negative hit, because they lose the tackle, he ends up falling at Dupree's feet, and they're never going to get the support in place quickly enough. Really good example of a chop tackle and a jackal straight after.
There it is from Ford again, and the Sharks extend their lead once more, 13 points to 5, and an excellent example of their defensive operation working nicely together. Byron McGuigan in charge of that aspect now for the Sharks, heading off on tour with England on secondment, if you like, over the summer to Argentina and the USA. Big focus this week, trying to keep as many men on their feet between the two 15-metre lines, apply that pressure, and then they're expecting that they might be able to profit in the wide channels off the turnovers. Ravovo for Bristol.
Hands on the ground, well left.
Caulfield.
The ball's available, you're fine.
Last two breakdowns, Bristol have lost 2 or 3 players lying on the floor at the breakdown. Yes, you have to clear out, and if that means taking the opposition off their feet, fine, but they weren't doing that. And if you've got bodies on the floor, they can't support the next breakdown.
Brilliant from Ford, working so nicely with Carpenter. This is Bevan Rod. Pops it up, and Opoku Fujor has to tidy. Ford again. They are finding the width. And here's Dupree. Dan Dupree, the try scorer, to within side of that 22. Johnny Hill hangs on well, running onto the ball pleasingly. Tackle from Grondona. Rob Dupree. Ford, quick hands to O'Flaherty. Here's Curry. Again, really hard and straight from Ben Curry.
Ball backwards.
War is caught. Caulfield's all over him. Opoku Fujor, that was magnificent as well. Curry to Van Rijn. Opoku Fujor sailing full flight. Can they finish the job here? Bevan Rod bearing down on the try line. The ball spits out. Taken in by Jean-Luc Dupree and tidied up by Gus War. Bristol scrambling back into position. Ford. And the ball falls for Randall.
Just lost Ford in a jackal.
And they will have the scrum as Bristol were scrapping hard for the ball on the deck.
Such ease to Sale's attack at the moment, the last few weeks, and a lot of that has been down to George Ford and how good his passing's been. There's the little pass to Carpenter.
Just lost Ford on a jackal attempt.
This long ball here, flashed across the front of the defensive line to Dupree in space. They come back to the other side, and it's just the variation that he's giving. That's just a nice, easy through the hands. And then here, he's under huge pressure, just transfers, but he's just not being affected by any defenders in front of him. He's almost like the game's slowing down every time he's got the ball in his hands, and he's got extra time to make a pass.
Yeah, sure, yeah, what's up?
Interestingly, they've had Brian Ashton in camp recently.
So number 3's been hit in the head, okay.
Doing a little bit of time with the Sale Sharks, offering his wisdom to Alex Sanderson, working carefully, of course, with George Ford. Just an extra pair of eyes, checking out those lines of running, seeing what's possible.
Head-on-head contact.
Yeah, there's something here with Opoku Fujor, I think, and it doesn't look as though there's an arm channel. I think it's Matt on, but yeah, it's definitely Opoku Fujor. He gets a beautiful offload away, first of all, and then has a second involvement. That's not that one. I'm looking at a different one.
This was Curry straightening the line really effectively here.
It's James Williams, isn't it? Just almost, it looks like he almost trips into a tackle that he's not going to make.
Just slow down the point of contact, Jacko.
I don't know what. No, he doesn't trip. Just a
Carl,
accidental collision, isn't it? I don't think he's
because I see it as
deliberately trying to tackle.
All the forces through the chest, or whether it's or in the head. Can you just slow down the exact point of contact, Jacko, please?
Yeah, coming for you now.
Andrew Jackson, Altiero. It's unfortunate and a little clumsy.
You're right, it's clumsy, but he could very well find himself in the bin here.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just give it a penalty
Jacko.
only, but...
Ready to discuss this, mate?
Yeah, coming back to you now.
He just looks much more in control, does he?
It's foul play because he's upright, but it's really minimal contact. There's a lot of force through the chest and a little glance on the head, so I'm at penalty only. And that's going to be over here, so just get the right mark for us, please.
Yeah, it's just outside the 22.
It's just outside the 22. Cheers.
Feels about right.
Just a penalty, lads. Just a penalty, number 12. It's just a penalty. You can have the scrum. Yeah, no problem. It's more advantageous for them to take the scrum. Yeah, their scrum. Yeah, they just changed it on. Just a penalty only. Let's go then. Let's go. Just watch that weakness. All of space, boys. There's your mark, lads. Here we go. Here we go. Here we are. You good? Thanks, boys.
So the discipline, you might suggest a gathering concern for Pat Lam.
Santi.
Sale looking to turn the screw here. Options left and right. Carpenter tucked in behind George Ford.
Bind.
Horrible place to defend. Bang under your own sticks with that much width, particularly with someone of the distribution that Sale have got.
Dan Dupree has to gather. The penalty again was not forthcoming. Here's Curry for Sale. Van Rijn swings Mata through the tackle, but he's adjudged to have been illegal, so there's a penalty here.
I think it's Grandona does a brilliant job on Dupree, stopping the offload. Really important. Just as he was looking to get the ball away to Guswar, it was wrapped up by Grandona.
Why are you getting the scrum? Okay, time off, please.
I think they feel they've got a real edge at scrum time.
Okay,
Good tackle by Jancy van Rensburg. It's actually Mata.
All good, guys.
No, that was before that.
Mata got penalised there, didn't he, for having one hand on the ground. The other one was on the ball.
Here they come again. Van Rijn sets it up. Raw. Lots of people queuing there within side of the line. Batley folding himself underneath it. Can Sale squeeze this back? McElroy's doing his level best to make sure they can. Johnny Hill poised with Bevan Rod ready to go. Here's Hill, driven sideways. Lango putting everything into it. Opoku for jaw, trying to reach and scramble through. Here we go again. Curry, lots of bodies underneath him.
Held up, Adam, held up.
Well, desperate and very effective defence from the Bears.
Really good defence. Curry tries to catch them napping with a really quick pick-up off the previous breakdown. And they know they're not going to be able to stop him going over the line, so I think it's McGinty who falls over, goes to ground early, is in goal, and almost lets Curry jump on top of him.
It's a great tactic.
I don't know why teams don't do it more. You know, if you lie there, you have to go an extra yard or half yard over that individual to then get it down, and if you can do exactly that and wrap it up behind that hurdle, it's effective.
Quite literally laying down your body. McGinty then up off the floor and sending it into the arms of Roebuck. Here is Jean-Luc Dupree again. Opoku for jaw. Ford, Roebuck waiting, looking to come in late. Batley read it. Through the middle. Dan Dupree skipping through the challenge as well. And Opoku for jaw continues the motion. Van Rijn straightens really well. Jean-Luc Dupree. Gus War. In comes Ravovo. Once again, all the lights flashing for the Bristol Bears. Is Johnny Hill. Surely they have to score here. McElroy. Nothing less than he deserves. He's been everywhere tonight, carrying hard, supporting every which way, and now he's got to score.
A little bit of a scuffle here, but good mix to Sale's play. The burst through the middle from the forwards. Apoko Fajor again taking out defenders, offloading. Great ball from Van Rijn. And then Dupree gets back to his feet, clears out, and then Johnny Hill, a really good pick up there, one-handed, gets right to the line, and you think it's imminent, it's coming, and McElroy round the corner, one of the strongest players at that height, and he's got Ibitoya in at the guard. He's always going to win that battle. Really good score from Sale.
He's been an impressive figure this evening. Clocked up 6 carries, 32 metres, put in a raft of tackles as well. Signed initially on a short-term loan, has a bit of cover with Tommy Taylor unavailable. Ethan Kane as well, out of action. Forward slots the 2. Sale lead by 20 points to 5. 4 minutes to play to half-time.
Really nice offloading here as well, wasn't there? Really clever from Gus War. He was the first security. Apoko Fajor going in, playing half-back, and Van Rijn keeping it alive, continually changing the point of contact, not allowing that Bristol Bears defence to settle or know where the line of defence needed to be, and then it was just too much. They ran out of road.
Nalanga, as soon as Nalanga went off his feet at that breakdown to compete, they were in real trouble. If he'd managed to stay on, he could have potentially won a penalty there and cancelled out that try-scoring opportunity. But as soon as he went off his feet and had to let go, Sale were always going to get quick ball and end up going over the line.
Van Rensburg forwards. Ball back with Sale. It's with O'Flaherty. In goes Fitzharding. And secures the turnover, but we'll take the knock-on and scrum from the Van Rensburg fumble.
There's a great shot from Rob Dupree. He sees Van Rensburg, Yancy Van Rensburg running that short line. That's where the danger is. He's done that so often, and he gets his arms free. He might make a full line break himself, but then someone feeds off him. But Rob Dupree wasn't having any of it. Big shot, displaced the ball. Great turnover.
If you know that the guy's going to have to tuck the ball in the basket there, that swinging arm on the top of the ball just gives it that extra momentum. With those shirts that are designed for people's hands to slip off so you can't be caught, it's very difficult to hold the ball in there if someone bangs it as hard as that on top of it.
There's Rich Lane, left leg and ankle heavily iced, and the crutch is out. That is a grave concern for Pat Lam, given how effective he's been at fullback, how brilliantly he's filled in for Max Malins and owned that shirt. Noah Hewitt unavailable at the moment as well, so a little bit thin in terms of fullbacks. And that's why we find Ibitoye occupying that space now.
Much better shape on this side by Kloska.
Ford digs it forwards. O'Flaherty chasing hard. Across comes Ibitoye. Jean-Luc Dupree just waiting his time before making the tackle.
Everyone on here. Okay, he's hurt though.
We've got a man down. Looks like one of the Dupree brothers is down.
Thanks, mate.
Here's George Fords. Sale playing with only 14. Carpenter with broken field in front of him.
He stepped off him.
Clung onto by McGinty. Hill.
Yeah, lovely.
Apoko Fajor. It was Jean-Luc Dupree who's now restored and moving back into the defensive line out wide. Curry. Good footwork. Ford again. Dupree leaves it hanging, but Roebuck is there. Enough touches on that. And Carpenter sets off. Maasi White now.
Stepped way back, guys, nowhere near.
Van Rijn was that forwards to Rod, flat at best. O'Flaherty rides the challenge from Revovo.
Good job, Josh.
And a poker for Jaw, tries to sneak down that short side. Ball has been stolen though. I think that was Grondona who's got in there for Bristol. But Sale are the beneficiaries of the Adam Leal whistle.
And another 10 metres for back chat as well. The last passage of play highlights how much Sale's game plan has changed. There's no way 18 months ago they would have gone through that many phases, particularly getting knocked backwards. The call would have come for a box kick, but they're happy in possession in that middle part of the field. Yes, the 15-point bumper on the scoreboard helps that.
You can't hit the ground before you come back onto the ball. I'm going to be on the same on it for both teams, but we've got a consistent theme of hands going on ground, then on ball. We've got to go straight for the ball. Can I speak to you now? Yeah, have a quick chat, that's fine.
But Sale are so much more comfortable as an attacking side with ball in hand. It used to be, we don't play any rugby in the middle third. We'll box kick, we'll have that kick tennis, we'll get an opportunity and then we'll attack. Now, and part of that is how the laws have changed and how the game's developed over the last couple of years.
Okay, 10 seconds
they just look so comfortable in midfield.
And this man's at the heart of it all, of course, George Ford. Just pulling all the strings. He's playing with such confidence at the moment.
Good to go.
Just pretty extraordinary to hear the phlegmatic manner in which he dealt with that Lions omission as well. Straight on with the job. He's not in charge of those sort of selectorial decisions, so he might as well just get on and play as well as he can for his club.
I just think he offers something different than the other 10s. Okay, maybe he's more in the mould of Finn Smith, but he's in such a rich vein of form at the moment. The control aspect, he'd be delighted to be on tour. He would happily probably play third choice out half. He's a guy that deserves it.
Might yet end up there, who knows? A couple of spots available, we understand. Clock deep into the red, but Sale want more points here at the end of this first half. They've scored 2 tries, Dan Dupree and Tyg McElroy. Here's Curry trying to find them a third. War. Ford sweeping back on that short side. Maasi White is shackled. Opoku for Jaw. Driven to the ground very effectively by Viliama Mata. Johnny Hill. Ford again did so well to get it away. Roebuck's got a lot to do here. Threads it through via the boot. Tom O'Flaherty's chasing. Ibitoye did well. Got down on it. Scrambled the ball. It finds its way into touch. And that is half-time. Sale playing with so much possession. 72% of it. And they've scored those two tries from Dan Dupree and Tyg McElroy. Bristol through an excellent solo effort, opportunistic effort from Harry Randall. Still plenty to do, but the Sharks are what you might call halfway there on the bonus point front in terms of tries, and certainly with a healthy buffer now, leading at half-time by 20 points to 5. Of course, a couple of big changes have been made. James Dunn is there, as you can see. He's come on for Josh Caulfield in the second row. And a couple of new props. Max Laheath on at tight head for George Kloska. And Ellis Genge is with us as well. He's replaced Jake Woolmore. So 3 changes to the Bristol side. And remember, they lost Rich Lane in the first half. So Sivan Alango's on the left wing. Ibitoye is at fullback. And, well, they've got 40 minutes to really sort their lives out, Ben.
They have. They'll take heart from last week when Sale were completely dominant at Matthew Woods, Welford Road. Went in, probably didn't want half-time to come last week, and came out and lost the game by quite a margin in the end. So Bristol will feel there's an opportunity, but you get the impression that Alex Sanderson might have changed his team talk this week to reflect that.
Yeah, conceivably. And the mathematicians amongst you can continue the numerical theme. Couple of hours of rugby between these two now. If you couple what's happened today with what happened at Ashton Gate in December, the aggregate scoreline 58 points to 5 in Sale's favour. Here's Revovo, one of those who could just spark something special for the Bears, but maybe not with a kick that drifts too long. O'Flaherty explodes into the space. Could use some support. Opoku Fujura is in there. War fishes it out. Nice work from Bevan Rod. Carpenter Dan Dupree doing really well to cling on to that. Lays it up. Jean-Luc Dupree hit hard by James Dunn. Ford picking the options. Rob Dupree is the first of those. Played every single minute of the Premiership campaign, Rob Dupree. Maasi White. Oh, excellent work, but Robot can't hold on to it. Thanks to the attentions of Bill Matter. Here's Ibitoye for Bristol. Certainly going the scenic route. First time he's had the ball in hand, Gabriel Ibitoye, which tells you quite a lot about the way Bristol have been going tonight.
He actually carried about 50 metres there, but made a metre forwards. Well, Sale started in similar vein.
Number 2 off feet.
I like O'Flaherty. He's always been a favourite player of mine, and just the sensible decision-making here. It's a really poor kick from Ravovo, but Ravovo jumps out of the line and makes a tackle that doesn't need making. So O'Flaherty thinks, well, I'll just run through the gap that you've just left. He was going to go off to the right, saw Ravovo commit himself to the tackle and went straight behind him and through the line.
Williams to Van Rensburg. Steven Naulango hits the space hard. Good defence from Carpenter. Backwards. Through the legs of Randall. And just maybe Williams as well. Harding for Bristol. In goes Van Rijn. Genge, first carry for Bristol's Lion.
You stepped out clearly.
McGinty, a little down over the top, looking to draw the sting from good kick. That Sale defensive press. The Bears looking to find the width. Ravovo back in field, one-handed to Dunn. McGinty, at the moment they're running into the blue wall, which is proving very stubborn. Genge, a poker for George, trying to run him down. Dan Dupree gets him in the end.
No 50.
Randall from the halfway and directly into touch. So an exhausting passage of several phases for the Bears. End result, 0-0.
Well, actually, Bristol haven't even managed to put 5 phases together yet in the match, which is unheard of for them, and partly due to their incapacity to be able to make gain line, but there's been some ferocious defence put up against them, and they've been forced into kicking the ball away against their will. So it's kind of a combination of them not quite clicking, but also real intensity from Sale Sharks in the hit, in every ruck, counter-rucking, making a nuisance of themselves. They have been very, very hard on both sides of the ball.
Insert timing good.
McElroy's delivery is good. Johnny Hill to Bevan Rod. Those hands are excellent, aren't they? They really do provide Sale with another option in terms of distribution. Up she goes. Ibitoye with the tap down. Has fallen for Van Rijn. Little show of the ball. In comes Dunn. Rob Dupree slips it away to his brother. Carpenter to Ford. Maasi White, O'Flaherty, Curry, McElroy again. Ford again looking for those heavy runners that can pick an angle. Johnny Hill tried. The handling again from Ford, unbelievable. That little tip on. So late, so good, but the Bears are working as hard as they need to. And on the ground, they found something here, some relief.
Just hanging on, aren't they?
Just back here, please.
Sometimes you get wings and fly halves that just are almost telepathic of exactly where they want the ball putting, and they just get into a flow and a rhythm. And this tap back from Robot couldn't be a better kick. Exactly where he wants it, lands exactly on the point. He gets up and he's so good in the air, gets that right knee up first. He wants his right knee on top of Ibitoye's there so that he can get the leverage, he can get up higher, and then having made a brilliant kick, the tip-on's good, but unfortunately runs away from the support.
I'll give you, okay? So the line is yours. The line is yours. Thank you. Time on.
Oh, great Takes out Dunn in the middle of the line. And a little bit of profit here to be had from the drive. The first time we've seen that today. Gench has it for Bristol.
Does work so well to stay hidden there, Gench, just as Avoko Fajor wanted him to wheel out and come into his channel.
Williams, McGinty, now then, Ibitoye in space. And Carpenter's got a job to do here. Brings him down very effectively, bided his time. This is Revivo for Bristol. Forward, being dragged back towards his try line.
Ibitoye should have let that pass go. He's a good offloader, but his connection, playing from fullback, he's not used to having to throw creative passes.
Penalty advantage, that's forwards from Williams.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Sale penalised for not rolling
Thanks, mate.
at the ruck.
It's a really nice launch play. O'Flaherty comes miles in and they are away. Now, in fairness to Carpenter, he does a brilliant job, but that ball has to go. He's done the job on Carpenter. He's fixed him, run to his inside shoulder, throw it there. And again, then it's a one-on-one.
I tell you what, Ibitoye gets done by the quality of Rob Dupree covering for O'Flaherty, because Dupree is on the inside of O'Flaherty, but he runs underneath him and fills that gap. Ibitoye was hoping that Carpenter was going to start drifting into the wide channel. He could accelerate through. But Rob Dupree worked so hard to get across there. You're right, the ball should have gone, but I think he wasn't expecting there to be such good cover from that man.
But they need something here, Bristol. Need it badly. And they find that execution. Batley takes it in for them.
They're good at them all, Bristol. They just need to be patient here, get an edge going forward. Now they've got that they can just keep working through. Lots of sail bodies on the floor. They're going over.
He's over. Critical for the Bears. Not just tonight,
He got stuck, mate. Dixon special.
but in the wider picture. Bill Matter, a try scorer in Cardiff, and now in Salford too.
Well, two big mauls in this half so far from Bristol. They set up really well. They're not panicking to get it moving forward. They start edging towards the posts, and they just lose two sail bodies, and that's their little bit of inches of gain that they make. Just here, it's all stationary, and then just as they start to edge, those two sail players go down, they get half a foot forward, and now they go, right, we've got the momentum. We lose the rest of the blue shirts to their left-hand side, straighten up, and once they're in that position, unless Sale can get under the ball,
Yeah, it's all good, mate.
there's only going to be one result.
Wide from McGinty, but the deficit cut to just 10 points. And Viliami Mata, whose score last week kind of killed off the contest, so he's dragged Bristol back into this one.
Grondona did such a good job of not allowing Marcy White to come in and get under the ball. Just blocked Mata, kept him safe, and as Mata went down, he just shepherded him to the floor, made sure there was no route to the ball for Sale.
Half an hour left to play. Forward goes deep. Van Rensburg runs hard at Johnny Hill.
Carried back.
McGinty,
Yeah, he's out.
forward chasing across, anticipating well. Space in the backfield,
No,
threads it through and just pins Bristol back.
Bristol ball.
Just look at a drop of the ball onto his foot. He knows exactly what he's doing. This is beautiful from George Ford. I don't know if you'll get a proper sense as to how he drops it. He's trying to arc that ball. That's a banana kick. Look at that drop. And he hooks his foot around it to get it to bounce and then drag towards the touchline as well. That is absolutely magnificent
Over 15.
from a very, very skillful footballer.
Bill Matter sets this one up for the Bears.
Use it.
Have a word with the Bristol director of rugby, Pat Lowe, in a moment or two. See how this clearance goes for Randall. Johnny Hill has to back off, And Randall clears away. So let's bring in Pat Lamb. Pat, simple one. What was the message at half-time? How are you turning this around?
Yeah, we were getting done at the penalty count, 9-1. I mean, Adam gives away, penalises the most on attacking breakdowns. So we talked about being a lot cleaner in there. I thought there was some that, you know, were a little bit tight on those calls, and then obviously getting the ball. But we need to work our way back into the game. The worst thing you can do is just throw the ball around against these guys is what they want. We talked about the next score, and which we did. But we just got to keep building moment to moment.
Big success at the driving maul on 2 occasions, obviously resulted in a try. Was that a message at half-time, Pat?
Yes, it was. And but then, you know, we talked about where the space is to kick, but again, we've got to execute. So we're well setting things up. We've got to get the execution of our kicking and chase.
Thanks for the time being, Pat. Appreciate your time as ever.
Thank you.
Calaveti Ravovo coming in at the last minute there, Brian.
This is a brilliant kick from Carpenter because they cover it reasonably well. Ibatoya plays up high, but it just holds up shy of the line. Nightmare for any winger coming across in that pendulum position. Wants it to bounce over the line, but you can't trust that the player won't get there before you. We saw that many years ago with Rob Howley in the Champions Cup final. He waited too long and it was pounced upon, and that was the game.
Got to make a decision, haven't you? And Ravovo did that, but he's given up this field position here for the Sharks, who are poised. Bristol hanging on here. Tyg McElroy at the back of this maul. Lahif tries to cling on to him. In comes Grondona. Over the ball goes now Lango. It's there for Johnny Hill. And now Asher Opoku for Jaw. Cut down low by Fitzharding. James Dunn thought he had it for a minute. Here's Dan Dupree.
Dunn wasn't supporting his body weight. He got away with it.
Bristol penalised. Here's Johnny Hill. Gets over. What a drive. What hunger, what intensity there from Johnny Hill. He's brought the Salford Community Stadium to its feet.
He's been so good on the pick and go, Johnny Hill. But it's about the speed of reaction and the penalty that's given away. Pat Lamb's just said, let's not give away any penalties, but it's that new law, playing the 9 if you're part of a ruck. As he picks up on the next one here, War will pick up. He's bound on through the ruck, plays the 9. Johnny Hill quickest to react, little tap. As they're all backtracking, a little bit slow to react from the Bristol defenders, but if you're running backwards like that, you're never going to be able to get any power to stop the drive of someone with the weight of Johnny Hill. Really smart from Hill. He's so good at the speed from those areas, which is often not the case with tall people like us.
5 from 5 from the tee for George Ford as well. 27-10 now. And he'll be delighted on a personal level, I'm quite sure, to have finished his career here in Salford with this try to edge Sale closer to the playoffs.
They let a bonus point slip away 3 or 4 weeks ago here against Saracens. They've got 25 minutes to make sure that doesn't happen for a second time. It could be all important in 3 weeks' time when we see the last round. That could be the difference between getting into this playoffs or another season of wondering what might have been.
Now Lango under the high ball. Williams. Mata. Brought down by Maasi White. Lahif. They're just being suffocated at source at the moment.
They look like they have an extra couple of numbers at times, to Sale Sharks.
Now Lango. Rolls and turns.
They've made such good decisions. I don't know if Adam Neal knows what to do here.
I think he was playing some advantage, but finally the whistle is
I
blown.
think they needed a bit of help from the TMO there. I don't think they saw. He's actually looking at the defensive line. His assistant doesn't see it either. I think they just got a little bit of help from the voice of God.
It's good work. If he's part of the ruck, he's got to leave him anyway.
So McGinty tucks them inside the 22. Johnny Hill's indiscretion.
Your mark.
Well, the good news, Bristol have managed to get up to 5 phases for the first time, but I'd say it's the first time this year that it's taken them 56 minutes to do so. So uncharacteristic, a possession-based team like them, struggling as much as they have.
Here's Ogray. Held up by McElroy. Mata gaining some traction here now through the middle of the ruck. Randall, Genge, more oomph to the carry for sure. Van Rensburg, each of them puncturing the gain line, these runners. Randall, McGinty, Grondona feeds Ravovo. Good tackle from Carpenter, hangs on as well. Harding. Sale working so hard defensively. Genge again, backing off.
Thanks, boys. Stand up, pair of you.
And Ibitoye sends it wide. And now they set off for the try line. Through Nalanga, what a finish! A flying finish. And if he's nailed that down, all Bristol Bears supporters will be eternally grateful.
Well, Bristol have actually been playing quite narrow, but leaving one man really wide on a touchline. And you can see Sale get narrow in defence to match that, and then they can't get out. And it's War who on the long pass doesn't quite get to Nalango. He skins him, and then that little hop step just to make O'Flaherty hesitate for that 1 second. Lovely ball over the top. And that little hitch kick just buys him the time to lift the ankles up and make sure that the ball lands before anything else.
Well, it was a wonderful finish. The 85th try of the Bristol Bears campaign. That isn't a half bad conversion either. And Jimmy Williams bangs over 2.
It's great to keep that width from a Bristol perspective with your wingers bang on the touchlines, but then everything else narrow, because it makes the job of the last man so difficult. So he feels like he's got to get connected. He feels like he can't pull defenders out of their core job in the midfield early enough to support him. And when you've got finishers and footwork with the ability of Ibitoye, Nalango and Ravovo on the wings and in the back 3, it is very difficult and a very lonely place to defend.
Here's Van Rensburg for Bristol, who just might have a bit of a second wind here. The arrival of Rafi Quirk at scrum half for Sale as well. Randall's kick from inside the 22. Oh, just outside. Oh dear.
Yeah, well, we were just commenting on whether Gabriel Ibitoye had a passing game. Well, he's got a 27-metre passing game. Look at that absolute whopper. How dare you question his skill set. Off that left-hand side, he made it look so easy. Whipped it out there, as natural as you like. Beautiful score.
Peach of a pass, wasn't it? Now Lango missing for so much of the season as well, which is a great disappointment to Pat Lam. Injuries have cut him down and reduced his availability. Line-out's not gone to plan here. McElroy just angling it up towards Van Rijn, not straight that time.
Made it look worse as well, because Van Rijn jumped across the line. It's particularly from the referee's angle. If he goes straight up there, Van Rijn, I think they get away with that. Problem as a jumper, when you take off, you don't know exactly where the ball's going to go. You have to find it in the air, even when you're right at the front. So if you're thinking, well, I'll try and own that space in the middle of the line out to make sure that no one can win it, you're too late to react.
Yeah, you look at the red zone efficiency, 3 tries from 4 visits for Bristol Bears, but only 3 from 9 for Sale Sharks. The game is all about taking your opportunities, and they're certainly not out of it. 10 points behind with 20 minutes to go. We know the firepower that they possess, how quickly they could get 2 scores. So Sale need to dig in here again, make sure they put this territory into more points to pull them away from Bears, give them a lifeline.
So the change personnel, of course, packing down here for Bristol. Genge and Lahif on the loose head and the tight head for Bristol, respectively. Sale putting them under some pressure. Williams, though, gets it away. And Ibitoye, 2 men shadowing him, and he's booted that away into touch. Well, they'll seemingly take the territory for the time being.
Ibitoye saying that someone got a hand on that as he kicked it. But yeah, that will be a slight worry for Bristol. Was their scrum definitely was going back. It was their put in, so Bill Matter was able to play away quickly.
He knew it too, didn't he, Benny? He was.
But the next Sale put in, you know exactly what's coming.
So both sides now change their scrum half. Harry Randall's off. He's run himself ragged. Kieran Marmion on at 9 for Bristol. And front row changes. And one in the back row as well for the Sharks. We'll update you on that in a minute. And Sam Dugdale is welcomed to the game by a thumping tackle from Matter, but gets up well.
Just what you want, your hands above your head as Bill Matter arrives.
Tester for Ibitoye, and Roebuck waits this time. And the ball is dislodged, and Carpenter has it, pops it over the top. That might have been forwards. Curry's onto it for Sale.
Excellent work to move, don't roll with him. Don't play him now.
Quirk, McIntyre on at loose head. Ford hits the space, Carpenter 2. Ford again. Beautiful pass. Rob Dupree explodes forwards. The range of the George Ford passing is really something else. Quirk feeds McIntyre, who hit that line really hard. Quirk. Ford wisely let that go, and here's Jean-Luc Dupree bouncing through Gabriel Ogre and dismissing Bill Matter as well. Quick ball for Sale. The kick pass from George Ford. Is that on the money? It's just too far in front of McElroy.
It's such good play. There's actually a brilliant, watch this pass, but watch Ibitoye. He defends really badly, comes out of the line, but he recovers. Look who makes the tackle from that distance. That is unbelievable defence from Ibitoye. Gets it wrong initially, but what a recovery, and then what a pass this is over the top. I mean, Ford is just, seems like he's got the ball on a string at the moment, bar the final kick, which just has a fraction too much on it. Really late decision to put it in there. Looks like it's perfect,
but he draws them up with the dummy pass. I think he knows he's doing that anyway. He knows that they're trying to shoot up and leave last man, but there wasn't the pressure on the inside to stop him from allowing to get that cross-field kick. Not quite as accurate as he would have liked, but beautiful skill from George Ford once again.
To the corner they go, in search of this bonus point for the 4th try. The biggest numbers they packed in all season tonight. Such are the stakes. McElroy to the tail. Lovely delivery from Johnny Hill. Quirk, massy right!
Tell you what, that is one of the best scores off a line-out you will see. It's the most simple thing in the world, but it is purely about everyone getting their timing spot on. The throw, right on Johnny Hill where he wants it, straight off the top, exactly where Quirk wants it, who takes it all the way to the line, forces McGinty to bite on him, which gives Maasi White, who's timed his run perfectly, a one-on-one collision. And at that pace, when his defender's standing still, he's always going to get over the line. So simple, so effective, but absolutely brilliant.
Bonus time for the Sale Sharks. If they can see it through, they will take 5 points away from this evening, with Exeter away in the final round. 2 more for George Ford. 34 points to 17. Sale fans happy. Rickety, Maasi White thundering over, everybody playing their part.
The fact that that ball off the top, the fact that Rafi Quirk was at full tilt and didn't have to check was the only reason that he managed to get round the tail gunner defender. That means McGinty has to step forward to him. It's just those minor differences of perfection with your timing that is the difference between you getting the 5-pointer or having to go through a number of phases to get there.
So there's the impact on the table as it stands. Sale, if they carry forwards a win here this evening with the bonus point, will move to 54 points, just 2 points off the Tigers. Those top 2 playing tomorrow, of course, at the Rec Live on TNT. Gloucester have got the bonus point try against Newcastle. They've leapfrogged Saracens. Sarries playing Northampton at the Gardens tomorrow. So much still to compute, but you can just begin to see the noose tightening on the Bristol Bears here tonight. Marmion to James Dunn. They've got 15 minutes to pull this out of the fire. Their season and their playoff hopes might just rest upon it. Ibitoye, who's grown into this contest, barely saw him in the first half. Marmion to the skies. Now Lango in hot pursuit. Grondona got up. Quirk is close to that, but it's secured by McGinty.
Brilliant coverage from George Ford once again. And the kick to follow it up.
Marmion in the backfield. They know they've got to try something. Ibitoye might be the man to carry them forwards. Marmion banged over in the tackle. Great shot again from Rob Duprea. Ogray, the ball blocked by O'Flaherty.
Whether Bristol get as much distance as possible and then try and have a line-out drive, because that's been their major success in the second half.
Just to reiterate, as we see this again, George Ford's coverage, Brian.
Oh, it's class, it really is. But then it's a similar type of kick. It's the way he puts the ball down on his foot, gets end over end, knows that as soon as it bounces, it's going to traject forward. The trajectory is going to be forward, and then what follows up is a brilliant kick chase. The attitude will really please Alex Sanderson, because that's just about hard work and graft. And as we come into the last 15 minutes, they don't want to give Bristol an absolute sniff. And moments like that of harrying and hounding will please the coach, no doubt.
McGinty stabs it forwards. Curry's back there. Lovely little basketball offload to Carpenter, looking for the 50-22. Hands in the air. Carpenter knows it. Sale turned the screw.
Yeah, it's not the world's greatest chip kick, but this follow-up is absolutely magnificent. I don't know if it's quite in the George Ford category of ball placed onto his foot. He gave it a little bit of a hoof, but he'll tell you that there was an awful lot of skill involved in it.
Well, at this stage, with 11.5 minutes remaining and a big old lead, territory is everything as far as the Sharks are concerned.
Yeah, time's off. Yeah.
A win here tonight, a bonus point win, should mean that a win at Sandy Park against Exeter on the final day of the regular season will be enough for the Sharks to qualify. Harry Byrne waiting his turn. Here's another look at the kick from Carpenter.
Watch his celebration there to the crowd.
They compete in the same space. We don't want to give them, trust me. Are you all good?
And they respond. One of the favourites here for sure. He's had an exemplary season, grown in stature, and you can absolutely see him touring Argentina and the USA with England, and you would think probably the favourite to wear 15. He'll be battling it out with Freddie Stewart, I suspect, and not entirely sure about the fitness of George Furbank at the moment, but he's right up there in contention. Wound up with Ogray, which certainly wasn't part of the master plan. Here's now Lango, slips it to Ibitoye. And now how dangerous they are. And just as important as the 5 points tonight to Sale will be to deny Bristol any points at all. Bonus related, either for the 4 tries or for them to lose by 7 or less. Matter.
Use it. Take him back in.
Lahif. Just not quite find their fluency this evening, and so much of that has been down to the intensity of the Sharks' defence. Carpenter again. O'Flaherty was waiting. Oh, Quirk onto that, quick as a flash. Got it away to McElroy, whose support has been excellent tonight.
We're rolling to avoid a jackal.
But
it's not the Marcus over here.
One too many rolls.
To avoid a jackal, number 2.
Yeah.
Just watching Carpenter, he's desperate to pass the ball to O'Flaherty, but he's in front of him. He just has to buy time for him to get back in, throws it in the air for him to run back to.
I can understand, was it McElroy was the ball carrier? He didn't realise that Carpenter was key support. He thought he needed to hang on for another second, but actually the fullback has done a great job in getting in and rooking over him. He wasn't aware of his presence, and that's why he fought that little bit harder.
A rousing reception for Johnny Hill. Standing ovation as he leaves the field for the final time here. Van Rensburg, and a big old shot in the midfield from Maasi White, which might just have done himself an injury. Joe Owen tries to get it away. Ogray on the outside. Quirk comes in and ends that little adventure.
Rafi Quirk has been a tyro since he's come on. Not necessarily ball in hand, but every tackle he's had to make, he's thrown his whole body into it.
Time off. Yeah,
another with a fair degree of frustration this season on account of injury. Eager to make up for lost time.
Yeah,
a little bit of a frustrated figure in the
I'll get him for you.
The last match for the Bristol Bears in Cardiff. Itching to take his chance.
It's tough for him because Wall has been so good while he's not been available.
Thanks,
I think probably fair to say that before his injury started, there's the Matter collision that injures Maasi White. He's going to come off the field. But fair to say, before Quirk got injured, I'd say he was number 1 in the pecking order, and everyone was talking about him being the next England 9. Well, probably say Wall's number 1 now, and he's got a real fight on his hands to get that 9 jersey back.
Carried back into the half, no 50-20.
With Sam Bedlow on the field now for Sale. Up goes Roebuck. Van Rensburg hangs on to that for Bristol. Marmion over the top, Ravovo. Carpenter's tackle. Harding to Genge. And the ball, was that slapped away?
Oh, okay, Scrum advantage then.
Knocked forwards by Sale, so Bristol have a knock-on advantage here.
Do you want the scrum up here?
Max Laheath. Big fend from Laheath. Harry Byrne. Ford waiting and feeding Quirk. Lovely step from Quirk. And now he accelerates and he's weaving through everybody. There's that little spark of magic. Sale now surely putting the game to bed and tearing onwards towards the playoffs.
Well, again, it's Ford's positioning. Reads the play, knows what's coming. Poor kick over the top, just too much on it. Ford's there, knows he's going to get hit, but he's aware of Rafi Quirk, and Quirk just uses Van Rensburg's desperation again against him. Second time that's happened to Van Rensburg. Just a step back, wrong foot him, and then Quirk's finishing superb. They don't lay a glove on him. Watch George Ford here after he gets hit. Hands on the back of the head. Just watches him go in. You don't quite see him in shot, but he just watches that. My work here is done.
Two more points. And Sale move into the 40s. And Rafi Quirk is a Premiership try scorer again. Great pace, great acceleration here, Brian.
He just uses his momentum, but like the ability to be able to step back with your momentum and against all of your force, then come off your left foot and accelerate with that speed when the defence is flagging was really high quality. We saw him earlier on in the season scoring a belter in this game in Ashton Gate, and another collector's item for him.
Williams for Bristol.
Bristol have to get that point. They have to get one more try.
Harding sets it up. Through goes now Lango. He's been a real live wire since coming off the bench. James Dunn.
They've only in 2 games this season not got the try bonus. Bristol.
Marmion not far away from breaking the shackles. Capon is on the field now as well, replaced Ogre. Mata drives onwards. Marmion to that shorter side. In comes Grondona. Ball is loose and taken in again by Nolango. Capon. Good tackle from McElroy. Van Rensburg, how well did he do to cling on to that?
We were in big trouble if he didn't manage that, because there was a number of Sale Sharks waiting outside Van Rensburg.
Laheath sets it up again. Genge caught. Good line from Joe Owen. Capon again, tight to the ruck, important meters. Ibitoye appears. And they build through these phases, 16 of them. Remember, it took them ages to thread even 5 together. Jimmy Williams isn't far away. Excellent leg drive. Bristol chasing that try bonus point. Grondona flips it away. Oh dear! Out of the clutches of Calaveti Ravovo.
The offload is outstanding. Look at that. Oh. I'm quite glad you weren't interviewing Pat Lamb at that stage. It might have got a bit blue.
That is a heartbreaker for the Bears director of rugby, and a man so dexterous as Calaveti Ravovo. You'll remember probably that extraordinary no-look offload round the back against the Tigers at Ashton Gate. This is a man whose hands are normally absolutely pitch perfect. So Alex Wills coming on. Time for your player of the match.
Okay, just wait for me, please.
Well, usually we say a few names because there's loads of people, but I think there's been a standout player today. He's been the player of the month for April. absolutely outstanding. He's on the richest vein of form I can remember. George Ford is our Gallagher Premiership Player of the Match.
Bez still in possession. Marmion feeding Genge. Done. And we've got a nasty injury. Dan Dupree is being attended to.
It's going to be definitely your ball, yeah. How come you stop that one? I got a medical call to stop the game.
And Bristol just building up ahead of steam, and they wanted to ride that wave of momentum, but Dan Dupree are stricken.
He just catches a knee in the head.
And a raft of medics arriving as well to help those that are already out there. Time for Sale just to regroup a little bit. At a tricky moment, you might suggest.
They've checked the injury, and it's a knee, a Sale knee to Dupree's head. Well, it's actually it's the ball carrier, isn't it, on the side of his temple.
Every care being taken. But nevertheless, with the game in the balance, it's such a difficult thing to manage for each side, isn't it, Brian?
His technique is good. There's not a whole lot wrong with it. It's just one of those unfortunate incidents where the force of the ball carrier just was carrying with such intent that the leg drove through the collision.
He's going to do everything he can to bring us down. I hope not.
Well, Ty McElroy is a relieved man, a happy man. He's done his job, and a big old hug from the director of rugby. He's been extremely impressive this evening. 11 carries, 46 metres, 12 tackles. He's been very much the heartbeat of the forward effort. And actually, on account of the fact that we're likely to see Dan Dupree removed from the field of play, that's actually brought Johnny Hill back onto the pitch, having thought he'd wave goodbye. Less than 5 minutes. Bristol searching for that try bonus. As we were mentioning, defeat not terminal here for them, but it unquestionably opens the door, doesn't it? Saracens most likely to be the ones that could profit from it.
Well, they'll need a favour tomorrow, don't they? They need Northampton Saints in Franklin's Gardens to turn up and really deliver a similar performance that they saw a couple of weeks ago in Dublin. They'll want to, as we said before the show, keep that momentum going. And they certainly won't roll over. They won't give it easy to Saracens, but you want destiny in your own hands, and it's just slipping a little bit for Bristol Bears.
The selections are so interesting this time of year as well. I mean, on account of the activities in the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup for Northampton and Bath. Tomorrow, they're playing their first string for the most part to give them a run out. How long are they going to stay on the pitch?
Exactly. They need a good performance to give them confidence and not feel rusty, having rested last week. But you'd think about 60 minutes, they might very well bring off most of their stars.
Just seeing the scores from earlier on this evening. That was Ty McElroy from close range. Dan Dupree with the first try of the night for the Sale Sharks. Johnny Hill with their third, around about 15 minutes after half-time. And then this from Quirk. Lovely balance to it.
Dupree is sat up now, which is a good sign. They're packing away the stretcher, hopefully, so he'll be able to go off on his own, under his own steam.
So there's a look at the table, as it will likely be at the end of this contest here, and the one between Newcastle and Gloucester up at Kingston Park. Dan Dupree able to walk off, which is a good thing. And as ever, the Sharks crowd very appreciative of his efforts. Sale with 5 points tonight, just need to win away at Exeter on the final weekend.
But Bristol, if they can get to 53, Saracens on 49, it might very well make the difference. They have to score from here.
Quins at home in their final match. Bristol, a round of 18 in 2 weeks' time, of course, as we pause next week for the EPCR finals in Cardiff.
Been a raft of front row changes, so I'm not entirely sure how the scrum is going to materialise. Whether Bristol are going to have to get it out pretty quickly. They'll want to hold on for as long as they can, because as soon as the scrum wheels, the two boys behind the scrum will want to go that direction. The back row taken away, that's their trigger.
It's there for Marmion. Swung to the left, Harry Byrne! That is the bonus point for the Bears. And they're still in this playoff hunt, fighting to the last.
What a finish from Byrne. Ibatoya's his little bit of distraction for the defenders. They all thought they were going to give it to Ibatoya, and it's Roebuck who jumps out of the line. Harry Byrne just shows the ball as though he might pass it, but then accelerates into the gap that was left. Brilliant finish, and as we said, potentially a crucial bonus point for Bristol Bears.
41-22, Harry Byrne off the bench. And a very, very significant moment. The look on George Ford's face says it all. A collective understanding of what was to happen there. Clear for all to see. Most try bonus points in any season. They've equalled the record set by Exeter in 2016-17. Van Rensburg, Capon through a big hole, some weary Sale bodies, and Capon still trucking, sends it wide. Ravovo, back comes Quirk, excellent tackle. Van Rensburg is there in support. Marmion keeps it fizzing. Harry Byrne, crossfield kick, acres of space on the wide outside, and trying to chase them down here. Sam Bedlow, Matter has spilt that in the final moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a knock-on.
Okay.
It's definitely a knock-on. We're hearing TMO saying,
goal line dropout.
great job. It's Alex Willis.
Bedlow's challenge so good. That right arm coming round in the nick of time.
I tell you, the kick just lacked a fraction of accuracy. It needed to allow, was it Ibatoya out there running onto a little bit more? He had to stutter step a little bit, and as a result, couldn't get in. Still should have converted, but one that got away for sure.
Brilliance from Capon on the initial break, though. He had to wait for everyone to catch up with him before he could pass the ball. Delivered a perfect pass. Dragged Sale over to one side and created that opportunity. They're going through the middle.
Yeah, once again, and done to Capon once more. Now it's opening up again, Grondona. Ravovo, one-on-one with O'Flaherty, straight through. Ravovo's in. What's happened to the Sale defence all of a sudden? Bristol catching fire. Almost certainly too late, but there still will be time.
They can play this Bristol team, can't they?
Where have they been? Where have they been? No one wants pragmatic Bristol. This is the fun Bristol we expect. And look at, I know the game is gone, and that's where they're at their most dangerous, when they get loose and fast and they've nothing more to lose. But the opportunities they create them for themselves from nothing when they play with that freedom.
Well, that was an important kick. They're still chasing that second bonus point, aren't they?
Yep.
Which would make it a 5-point cushion with Saracens.
Well, a conversion try will get them within range. Ravovo score. It's 10 in 12 Premiership matches for him this season. A rueful shake of the head from Pat Lamb. He knows his side of have left it too late to win. The clock is now in the red. Sale, if they can win this and hoof it off the pitch, will deny Bristol a second point, but it's a brilliant gather from Joe Owen. And Bristol still have opportunity. Genge pops it up. Is that a little high from Rob Dupree? Referee seems unmoved. Got to find 80+ metres somehow.
Rafi Quirk is playing very high.
And Ravovo's feet again. James Dunn. Sale need to find it in themselves here to go to the well defensively.
They will get a penalty to get some yardage and another throw.
I think it was only a scrum. I think it was just a knock-on. So they got to play this as if it's the last play.
Onwards. Oh, Roebuck couldn't hang on to it. That's gone forwards, but that is the end of the game. Sale. Not quite there yet, but a win against the Chiefs now at Sandy Park on the final weekend will put them in the playoffs. Bristol's defeat, despite the try bonus point, does certainly open the door for Saracens, who play at Saints, of course, tomorrow afternoon. Thrilling contest, everything we hoped it might turn into. Full time. Sale 41, Bristol 27.